Welcome to the Rewriting Naruto series part 53. This is a series of videos where I rewrite Naruto, making changes to improve the story for my personal taste. Sorry for the lack of rewrites in the past month. It was December, it's a little more complicated to make them because of holidays and everything. But to make it up for you, if we reach 4,000 likes within the first 24 hours, I will release the next rewrite next Sunday, within a week. So definitely like the video, and this is a promise. If you guys reach 4,000 in 24 hours, I'm gonna do it. Now let's get going. Kurotsuchi closed her eyes as a grasshopper ignited into bright yellow light. She waited for the explosion to come, for her death, but it never came. When she opened her eyes, she saw a small cube made out of light hovering where the grasshopper was about to explode. The cube vanished and left behind nothing but a trace of dust. Deidara's creation was gone, wiped out of existence before it could explode. What? This never happened before, Deidara said, looking down from his bird, which hovered far above Kurotsuchi. Have you gone mad, Deidara? The Tsuchikage's voice came from behind. The drapes of his elder vest flapped in the wind as the old man flew with his arms crossed. His scowl sent a shiver down Deidara's skin. For the first time, the old man looked intimidating to him. I was just trying to show Kurotsuchi the true meaning of art, but she tried to kill me for it. I was fighting back in self-defense. The Tsuchikage weaved a hand sign and touched Deidara's chest, infusing it with chakra. In a split second, his body became dozens of times heavier than usual. He destroyed his clay bird as he fell because of his weight and plummeted to the ground, landing close to the lava field Kurotsuchi had created. He made a crater upon impact, but strangely didn't feel much pain. Swaths of clay from the bird fell nearby. Kurotsuchi, what happened here? The old man asked. She pointed at Deidara. He destroyed Foxy! His bird took him to the sky and exploded! So that was the explosion I saw from the village. I came here to see what was happening, but never thought the two of you would be locked in a death match. Deidara tried to stand up, but his body was too heavy. He could barely talk. She started the fight. I told you. He stole Foxy and killed him. What a troublesome pair. Two kids with well-developed KK Genkai powers is a recipe for disaster. I'll have to make sure they don't do anything foolish anymore. Perhaps this was just a stupid children's fight. However, Onoki thought, undoing the heavy boulder jutsu that affected Deidara. This boy, I don't know if it's because he was raised by monks or because he's just strange, but the way he thinks is unnatural. I thought that leaving him in the care of Kitsuchi and Kurohiri would have been enough to reshape him into a Stone Village citizen, but apparently it wasn't enough. Deidara has become too much of an asset for this village, holding the power of the yokai. I must be careful to keep him loyal and satisfied with his life here, and make sure he won't cause us any damage. The boy stood up after regaining his movements. I was doing something for her good, alright? She attacked me out of nowhere. He wasn't out of nowhere. You exploded Foxy. I was just trying to show you true art. Silence, the two of you! Onoki shouted, and they promptly fell silent. Deidara, it is fine to have opinions and ideas about art and other things, but if you want to convince other people, you must go about it the correct way. Kurotsuchi loved that toy, and you destroyed it. Can you not understand how bad it would make her feel? But it was so ugly. It doesn't matter. She felt another way about it. How would you feel if someone destroyed something you love? Well, it depends on how it's destroyed. Onoki sighed in frustration. Most people will not share your view on beauty and art, and you must respect them, especially people from the Stone Village and the Land of Earth. Even though you may have the yokai of beauty in you, it doesn't make you the owner of the truth on beauty itself. Deidara scowled. And you, Kurotsuchi, I know how angry you must have felt, but Deidara is a comrade of the Stone Village, and you tried to kill him. You must never do that. Lashing out in anger without thinking is a fast way to ruin, especially against an ally. Kurotsuchi scowled as well. Also, Deidara, you could have just fled the battle by flying away, and yet you decided to attack her back. You must also remember Kurotsuchi's a comrade of the stone. You've been living under the same roof for over a year now. You shared meals. I expect you two to respect each other. If I can't show the world my art, then what's the point of training to become a ninja? The Stone Village. We are the point. The continuation of our people, our traditions, and our land. That's not really something I care about. What about your new family then? Do they mean nothing to you? Deidara remembered Kurohiri's sweet smile as she told him how glad she was for founding him him in that temple, freeing him from that terrible place, was all because of her, and Deidara felt ashamed, lowering his head. Sorry. I'll only forgive you if you give me a new plushie. That's... I can do that, I think. Yes, of course you can, Deidara. Now, shake hands. The two kids obeyed Onoki and made peace with each other. I won't tell your parents about this little fight, so I don't want it to repeat itself, alright? The two kids nodded. As for your art, Deidara, once you become a ninja, you will be going on missions. As the Tsuchikage, I am the one assigning them, so I will make sure you will have plenty of opportunities to show your art to the world. Alright then, that's a deal. The next morning, after Kurohiri and Kitsuchi arrived from their mission, Deidara confessed to his foster mother. I destroyed Kurotsuchi's toy. I told her, I'm sorry, but I need to buy a new one for her. Kurohiri smiled. She talked to me about that too. You have to go choose a new one, Deidara. Yeah. Kurohiri took him to the Stone Village street market. There were several stalls on each side of the street selling all sorts of products from foods to clothes to toys. And unbeknownst to Deidara, 3 stone Anbu followed them. Onoki had assigned an Anbu cell to watch over Deidara and make sure he wouldn't cause any further problems. They dressed as civilians to blend with the crowd, but Kurohiri was aware of their presence. Onoki told him and Kitsuchi about the new safety policy. Why didn't you get mad? Deidara asked Kurohiri as they looked at a stall that sold toys. Mad? Yeah, about me destroying the plushie. Well, of course I was mad, but you felt remorse and apologized. If you learn from your mistakes, that's what it counts. Some people will like things you don't. Kurotsuchi loved Foxy. You may not have liked him, but you have to understand Kurotsuchi's feelings. And now that you do, I am glad. Okay, thank you. So which one do you think Kuro will like best? Kurohiri said as they looked at the plushies on the stall. Deidara looked carefully at them, peering with his artistic eye. Perhaps he could show Kurotsuchi what art really was this way, and he found it. That one! He's beautiful, Kurotsuchi said with a blush. Deidara gave her new plushie. It was a white fox, much more elegant and well-crafted than the previous atrocity. I will call him Shiroki. Kurotsuchi hugged her new toy as Kurohiri and Kitsuchi smiled, watching over the two. That was good. At least she could recognize things that were more beautiful than others. Deidara picked that specific plushie because it reminded him of his own creations. The only problem was that it didn't explode. With that, and the old man's promise that Deidara would be able to use his art a lot when he became a ninja, he became optimistic and excited about the prospect of becoming a shinobi. It was as though the fight Deidara had with Kurotsuchi brought him closer to her and to the village as well. Strange how those things worked. Because of that, Deidara and Kurotsuchi began to practice and spar together a few times a week. They didn't fight each other with the intention to kill, but it was good training. He could improve his art in a more active, high-stakes scenario, and they also trained in the mountains. Always watched over by the 3-man Anbu team who used spy glasses to peer at Deidara and what he was doing from a mountain nearby the training area. Whenever Kurotsuchi's magma style hardened, Deidara destroyed it with his art. He didn't like the idea of her creations lasting forever. The only problem with his training was that Deidara could hardly ever see a true glimpse of infinity. It was as if the better he got with his art, the more difficult it became to peek at the fleeting infinity of his explosions. So he craved more. He needed to become a ninja. That was the only way to fulfill his artistic purpose. Nevertheless, Deidara for once in his life was patient. He finally realized that his situation was so much better in the Stone Village than it used to be at the temple with the monks, that complaining about it just didn't make sense. His foster family was also a benefit he never had at the temple, so he trained and practiced his art, always leading the grade and scores of the Ninja Academy, with Kurotsuchi coming in second. Did you see they were probably gonna get promoted to Genin without even a test? Kurotsuchi told later after a long training session in the early evening. She passed him her water canteen. Really? Where did you hear about that? Deidara grabbed the canteen and took a long sip. I overheard Mom and Dad talking about it. They thought I was sleeping. Lucky you. What do you mean? That you only overheard that when they thought you were sleeping. What? Never mind. But this is good. I thought we would only get the promotion when we were 12. Yeah, most times it's like that. But apparently Grandpa doesn't like the idea of keeping us in the academy. Apparently we're too good for it. The old man is not as dumb as I thought he was, huh? What? Grandpa isn't dumb? I know, I was joking. Kurotsuchi punched Deidara's shoulder. I know you were. What was that punch for? Just making you a little mad. Deidara scowled and tossed the canteen back to Kurotsuchi. When she was about to catch it, he smirked. Cats! The canteen popped, splashing Kurotsuchi with water for Deidara's glee. What? You're gonna pay for that, okay? But Deidara kept on laughing, and eventually Kurotsuchi laughed with him. When did you even put an explosive in the canteen? When you focused on punching me. I slipped in a small clay sand dweller. They can crawl very well and fit through small spaces. Of course, they wasn't even close to as powerful as it could create them. What if I drink it? It would have exploded my stomach. That's why it popped it before you even cut the canteen, you moron. Well, how kind of you. At least if we became ninjas earlier, I could start using my art to the fullest as well. What do you mean? Sparring and destroying objects is just not doing it. A true explosion can't just be a pretty flash of light with a shockwave. It has to be something real, with real impact. Are you saying you want to explode other people? Well, yeah, I guess. But only if they're enemies of the Stone Village, of course. I mean, ninjas have to kill people, right? We're gonna have to do it. Might as well do it in an elegant and artistic way, right? I guess. Never thought of that really, but it's dark. Nah, it's alright. Anyway, what do you want for your birthday, Deidara? My birthday? I don't have a birthday. The monks never bothered to record when I was born, or who my parents were. Kurotsuchi pouted, but then her face beamed. So we can set your birthday for today. Let's go celebrate. What? No, that's so random. Come on. She grabbed him by the hand and ran across the village. What do you want to eat? It's your birthday. Steak. Rare. Alright then. Kurotsuchi took Deidara into the Stone Village Steakhouse. How are you even gonna pay for this? Mommy, give you money. You've been living with us for so long, but we never celebrated your birthday. Well, it's because I don't know my birthday. Now we do. It's today. Kurotsuchi smiled, and they both dug in. Do you think we're gonna be in the same Genin squad? Deidara asked. Why? You wanna be on the same squad as me? Well, yeah, we have good teamwork and all. We're pretty much siblings at this point. Kurotsuchi blushed. Really? You think so? Yeah. Well, Kurotsuchi stood up and hugged him tight. Alright then. We're gonna be in the same team, bro. I just know it. Stop squeezing me like that. A few days later, Deidara was elevated into the Genin rank. He received his Stone Village headband and was assigned to a squad. Kurotsuchi was in it, alongside Akatsuchi, a fat and tall boy that was in an older class of students in the academy and was apparently the #1 student there. Deidara was about 11 years old, Kurotsuchi was 10, and Akatsuchi was 12. The three waited for their Jonin sensei to arrive in one of the academy rooms, when a short man with red hair, purple clothes, and traditional armor plates walked into the room. Master Roushi! Kurotsuchi said, excited. Yes, I was selected to be your sensei. My name is Roushi. We'll begin our missions tomorrow. I'm Akatsuchi! Deidara. The other two introduced themselves. So Lord Tsuchikage put the three most talented prospects of the academy together, as he told me, Roushi thought, nodding at them. The Stone Village had a different philosophy from the Leaf when it came to forming new Genin squads. They put together academy students of similar level instead of balancing them out. This created extremely powerful teams, as well as very weak ones. With Master Roushi training us, I'm gonna become Tsuchikage in no time, Kurotsuchi told Deidara as they walked home. He was already training you. Yeah, but now that I'm a ninja, the training's gonna be much more intense. Why do you even want to be Tsuchikage for? I want everyone to be happy. I want this village to be a good place. If I'm Tsuchikage, I can do that. That's my dream. How noble. What about you, Deidara? What's your ninja goal? Magnum Infinity. What? It's a name I came up with. My art will surpass all other art in the world. It won't be only a glimpse that I see, but infinity to the fullest. A magnum bang. How do you do that? By making my ninjutsu the ultimate art form. Your first mission will be to go to the Land of Crystals and destroy Hazeshi Bridge. Deidara, your talents will be especially important, but you cannot be seen doing that. No one can know Stone Ninjas were destroying bridges there. Onoki told Deidara and his team in the Tsuchikage Stoned Wall office. Oh, wow! And why are we destroying this bridge, Lord Tsuchikage? Akatsuchi asked. The reason is irrelevant. Your duty is to fulfill the mission I assign, you understand? Yes, sir! The fat boy lowered his head. Deidara smiled. He loved the idea of destroying a bridge, a symbol of permanence, of stability. The highest point of that bridge would be when Deidara unleashed its art upon it. Only then the bridge would achieve beauty. I mean, I don't get the point of destroying a bridge. Really, Gramps? That's our first mission? It's kinda boring, Kurotsuchi said. Don't misunderstand. There's a possibility you will encounter leaf ninjas near the bridge. If that happens, you must eliminate them without leaving any traces behind. This is a B-rank mission, much higher than anything most Genins ever get. I am assigning it to you because I expect great things from this team. Do not disappoint me. That bridge is the most important trade route between the Land of Crystals and the Land of Fire. This is a covert attack against the interests of the Leaf. Destroying the bridge would halt trade between the Land of Crystals and Land of Fire, and force them to rely much more on the Land of Earth for trading, increasing the Land of Earth's influence on the Land of Crystals. Perhaps Lord Tsuchikage is slowly trying to annex the Land of Crystals, bringing them further away from the Leaf. This could start another war, but perhaps now that the Yellow Flash is dead, Lord Tsuchikage feels more confident. But still, starting a war now wouldn't be good. That's why we cannot be seen destroying that bridge, Roushi thought. It will be done, Lord Tsuchikage. I will take good care of these three, Roushi said with a nod. A few days later, Deidara and his team reached the location of the bridge. They traveled covertly through the land of crystals until their destination. We wait here until the cover of the night to destroy the bridge. That way, no one will be around to see it, and no civilians will be caught in the blast, Roushi said. And so they did, camping about 2 kilometers away from the bridge until 2 a.m. Alright, let's move silently. Deidara, prepare your jutsu. Once the bridge falls, we bolt away, Roushi said, and the others nodded. Deidara bit into the chakra-enriched clay with his mouth hands. They chewed on it, and Deidara created 2 birds. They moved silently through the forest until Kurotsuchi whispered, "There it is!" pointing at the bridge. It was about 100 meters long, a suspension bridge that crossed a wide river below. Deidara tossed his birds and weaved a hand seal. They expanded midair and darted towards the bridge, each one aimed at an opposite end of the structure. They barely made any noise through the air. Cats! The 2 birds ignited at the same time, and the bridge fell, dislodged from its edges, falling to the river below. Deidara smiled. He glimpsed it. The bridge was no more. Its final moment was worth its existence. "Let's go," Roushi said. But before they could run away, fire beams erupted from far away in the middle of the forest, cruising the air towards them. Roushi weaved hand signs and touched the ground. Earth wall! A piece of the ground rose to block the fire. "What was that?" Akatsuchi asked. "They found us. Ready yourselves," Roushi said, and Deidara began to chew on clay with his hands. "But how do they pinpoint us? We were so careful. Deidara even uses silent birds," Kurotsuchi said. "They might have a sensory type. We need to get to open terrain. Follow me," Roushi said, weaving more signs and leaving the forest. A shadow appeared from their left, and Roushi spat an orb of lava towards it, but the figure rotated with chakra and blocked the lava attack, sending it in shards to all directions. Deidara and his team arrived to more open terrain when they heard another attack coming. Fang over fang! 2 small vortices streaked towards them, but Akatsuchi created an earth golem to block it, taking damage, but withstanding the blows, it stopped the enemy's rotation. It was a man and a dog. Deidara rushed the dog and struck its sting with a palm strike. At the same time, Kurotsuchi landed an earth-style fist to the man's face. They were launched backwards. The dog slid on the ground after Deidara's not-so-powerful blow, but the man fell with his face bleeding, and the dog prevented him from hitting a tree. The enemy squad regrouped around their wounded comrade. Deidara put his hands back into his clay pouches. The fallen man stood up, helped by a teenage girl of the enemy team. His face was a bloody mess, but his eyes burned in angry determination. 4 leaf ninjas faced Deidara and his squad from about 30 meters away in the middle of rocky open terrain near the river margin. All enemies wore green leaf vests and the characteristic headband. The cold wind hit Deidara's face, flapping his blonde hair, and he looked at the enemy captain. His eyes were disgusting. "Himoto Hyuga and Shiryo Sarutobi," Roushi said, narrowing his eyes. The Hyuga was a middle-aged man, and the Sarutobi was in his 30s. "Roushi of the magma style," Himoto Hyuga said, peering at him with his Byakugan. "Stay sharp. This man is the Jinchuriki of the Four Tails," he told his squad. "This bastard!" Shiryo Sarutobi spat in disgust. "You fought him?" the man with the dog asked, and spat blood on the ground. "No, but he killed many of my friends in the war. You didn't fight too much there, Kazuka. You wouldn't understand. This bastard!" "Shiryo, focus. He's strong," the old Hyuga who was the captain told the Sarutobi. "I see. With a Hyuga and an Inuzuka, you would track us very swiftly after our attack, and pinpoint us with the Sarutobi long-range fire strikes," Roushi said. "Don't forget about me. I'm Kanashi Shimura. Remember my name!" The 4th member of the Leaf Ninja Squadron yelled. She was a girl no older than 15, the youngest of her squadron. Kurotsuchi scowled at her. "You better shut up, because I'm—" "Silence!" Roushi bellowed. "Kurotsuchi, you can't say your name here. If they find out you're the daughter of the Tsuchikage, they will come for you first," Roushi thought. Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi tensed up after Roshi's scream. Himoto Hyuga noticed that and smirked. "Are you stupid, Roushi? Bringing infants to the battlefield? Surrender now, and they live." "Why do your eyes look so ugly?" Deidara sat with a scowl, staring at the Byakugan, and the Hyuga was taken aback by how relaxed he was. "That's a Byakugan, Deidara. It allows him to see chakra through solid objects, and also all around him." "It looks disgusting. Look at that thing." "Shut up, child. The Hyuga are the mightiest of the Leaf. There's no jutsu more honorable and elegant than the Byakugan." Deidara's eyes bulged out wide in anger. "You think that atrocious thing in your face is art?" "Calm yourself, Deidara," Roushi said. "You should have taught the kid some manners, Four Tails. Surrender. We'll take you as a prisoner, and the children will be treated well. I can't promise the same to you, though. You wish to capture a Jinchuriki. I assure you that Tsuchikage will consider this an act of war." "Oh, so destroying the bridge isn't." "The bridge is not in the land of fire. Of course the fence-sitter of the stone would try to find a loophole like that." "You stone ninja, old scum! Let's kill them all, Captain! The Sarutobi ninja shouted as the Inuzuka prepared himself with his dog. The Hyuga narrowed his eyes, sizing Roushi up. I can see everything with these eyes. I know it's over for you, Four Tails. You weren't supposed to be spotted on this mission. Now, if you fight, you'll have to protect the kids, which won't work. They will die regardless, and so will you after failing them. I've heard enough, Deidara said, stepping forward and standing in front of his team. Sensei, let me have them. Are you crazy? Those two are war veterans! Kurotsuchi pointed at the Hyuga and the Sarutobi. She's right, Deidara. Those two are Jonins, and the other two are Chunins. You're just a Genin. Are you sure about that? Of course I am. My ninjutsu is true, refined, and noble art. I would never lose to those unsightly eyes. You got guts, boy, the Hyuga smirked, and Roushi sighed. Very well, then. Sensei, you can't be serious. Deidara can't take them all by himself, Kurotsuchi protested. Orochi remembered a conversation he had with the Tsuchikage. Roushi, keep this in mind. Deidara is a weird one. He's strong for his age, unnaturally so, but his personality is wild. I trust you to keep him happy and focused during your missions, so let him use his explosions as much as possible and as he pleases. If he wishes to do something you would consider to be insane, do your best to allow him, and make sure you're able to help him if things go wrong. He's a great asset to the village, and if he is happy and practicing his art, then we shall have access to the full power he has to offer us. And if we don't, I am afraid he might become a powder keg too powerful to contain. Go ahead, Deidara, Roushi told him. You two stay focused and be ready to help Deidara at any moment. But Sensei, he can die, Kurotsuchi said. That's why you have to focus to protect him. You can only be out of your mind, Roushi, the Hyuga said. I'll kill him! I'll kill them all! And they'll pay for what they did in the war, the Sarutobi shouted. Calm yourself, Shiryu. We must approach this fight with care, even if we're just fighting a boy in the beginning. Kazuka, lead the charge with your Inuzuka taijutsu. We'll support you from behind. I have nothing against you, boy, but you gotta do what you gotta do, the Inuzuka said, but Deidara sneered at that comment. Cocky, huh? Not for long, boy. Fang over fang! The Inuzuka man and his dog erupted into a spin and arc towards Deidara. Cats! The flying dog exploded into a fiery cloud of blood. The Inuzuka, who was close to his dog, canceled his rotation and stared at the hovering cloud in utter desperation. Ikimaru! He shouted, but couldn't even finish his roar, for a white bird cruised the red cloud, staining itself crimson, and appeared to Kazuka. It crashed against him and exploded, creating a second cloud of blood that hovered 10 meters above the ground. Deidara marveled at his creations. They exploded in the air before they could even reach Deidara, and he looked at the other three leaf ninjas, smiling. His face contrasted theirs, for they were absolutely horrified. You're gonna pay for what you did! The Sarutobi shouted and motioned to rush Deidara, but the Hyuga contained him. Calm yourself, or you'll end up like Kazuka. This boy's no joke. You should rejoice. Their ending was a sublimation of all their moments. There's no nobler death than dying with an explosion. Shut up, you psychopath! Calm yourself, the Hyuga said, peering at Deidara with his Byakugan. He uses explosive projectiles. I used a kunai to intercept that bird he tossed against Kazuka, but he dodged with an aerial maneuver, and the bird was pretty fast. Kazuka didn't even see it coming, but I didn't see him throwing anything against Ikimaru to explode him. That's strange, the Hyuga thought. Unbeknownst to him, Deidara had slipped a sand dweller into the dog's mouth when he struck it with his palm. The sand dweller lodged itself in the dog's stomach and exploded from within when Deidara commanded to. Deidara is amazing and terrifying, Kurotsuchi thought, looking at him. He bit into more clay with his hands. Who's next? We have to be careful. Use formation 4, the Hyuga said, but the girl recoiled back. She was trembling in fear. Man up, Shimura! This is no time to be a coward! The Sarutobi screamed. She took her katana out of her scabbard, but the blade wobbled. Don't worry, this will be over in a bang. Deidara spat a dozen small grasshoppers from his hands. They jumped towards the leaf ninjas. Earth style, mud wave! The Sarutobi spat a surge of mud towards the grasshoppers, but they jumped high, avoiding it. Mud wall! The Sarutobi erected a wall in front of his team, but the grasshoppers hopped over it. The three leaf ninjas were forced to scatter, leaving the wall cover as the grasshoppers landed on the other side, exploding it and destroying destroying the erected wall. With the 3 leaf ninjas now split, Deidara tossed a barrage of small clay spiders hurling through the air towards the Hyuga and exploded them in quick succession. The flashy explosions blinded the Hyuga for a split second that Deidara used to send a clay centipede into the ground without him seeing it with his weird eyes. Fire style! Fire dragon bullets! The Sarutobi spat a continuous blast of fire towards Deidara, who moved out of the way, but the fire hit his shoulder, burning away the sleeve and singeing his flesh. His right arm burned, and Deidara winced in pain, but sent fast clay birds towards the Sarutobi in exchange, who erected another mud wall. The Hyuga recovered his eyesight and rushed Deidara. Before he could reach him though, Deidara's birds flew around the mud wall, forcing the Sarutobi to jump away and avoid the explosive strikes. But he didn't know Deidara had a lot of practice countering mud walls, thanks to his training with Kurotsuchi. The Sarutobi avoided the fast birds, but a clay grasshopper mounted each of them. They used the birds' backs to propel themselves towards the Sarutobi midair and exploded, reducing the leaf ninja into minced meat. Bastard! The Hyuga screamed, reaching Deidara and swinging his gentle fist at him. Crap, I got distracted, Deidara thought, as the Hyuga was about to strike him. But an earth wall rose off the ground between Deidara and the Hyuga. The older man struck the wall, cracking it with his palm, but Deidara jumped back, using that chance to disengage. It was Kurotsuchi's jutsu that saved Deidara from that blow. She got worried after the fire hit his arm, so she was the first one to intervene. When Deidara stopped moving, however, the ground behind him cracked, and the Shimura girl emerged from it, sword already swinging at him. But the ground cracked behind the girl herself, and Deidara's centipede, much larger than he was when he sent it into the ground, emerged and wrapped itself around the girl, immobilizing her completely before she could finish her swing. No, please don't kill me! She screamed with tears and snot dripping down her face. Deidara jumped away from her and smiled, staring right into her desperate eyes. Become infinity. Cats! The centipede wrapping her exploded and sent slimy bits of her body into all directions. I surrender! Okay, I surrender! The Hyuga shouted. He had been using his gentle fist strikes to destroy Earth-style projectiles Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi were lobbing at him to make sure the Hyuga wouldn't reach Deidara again. Sorry, but the old man told us to take no prisoners. Deidara sat, spitting more grasshoppers that rushed the Hyuga. He used his rotation to block the explosions as they jumped and detonated themselves against him, but Deidara was expecting that. He couldn't move while spinning like that, so Deidara used that time to create one large bird and sent it flying at the Hyuga. He didn't even stop the rotation and try to jump away. The moron believed it's strong enough to withstand an explosion from one of his most powerful art pieces. Cats! Deidara's final bird ignited, reducing the Hyuga and his rotation into nothingness, leaving only a crater where the fool had been spinning. Deidara felt elation. So many glimpses, so much art. His art! It prevailed over that unsightly eye. His ninjutsu was the answer. No one had art better than his. Lord Tsuchikage was right about Deidara. He really is special, Roushi thought. Deidara, your arm! Kurotsuchi said. She was genuinely concerned. It's alright, I don't mind the pain. His arm was burned up and red. Bits of singed flesh and skin hanged off of it. The pain was something Deidara could forget, not care about. His art was what mattered. Roushi weaved hand signs. He stuck his hands on the ground, and the terrain around them shifted and remolded itself, burying the many pieces of body scattered around and erasing the vestiges of battle. Very well, now let's go. A few days later, a medic ninja healed Deidara's arm in the Stone Village Hospital. Kurotsuchi and Kurohiri were with him for support, even though Deidara didn't need it. Deidara, you're too reckless. I don't know how Master Roshi even let you do that, Kurotsuchi said. That is true, Deidara. You should be more careful, especially on missions like that, where you're facing enemy ninjas, Kurohiri said. Everything was under control. Besides, what's the point of art if it's not bold and you don't have to take any risks? You don't have to always be bold. You're lucky you'll make a full recovery. That one was nasty, Kurohiri said, looking at him like a worried mother. You two have to look after each other, you know? You're in the same squad. I did! I protected Deidara! Oh, that slap was not gonna kill me. A Hyuga slap is not something to dismiss. It can shut down your chakra and strike internal organs. He's one with infinity now, it doesn't matter. Deidara, you killed all those guys, and when you did it, it was as though you've been doing this for a long time. I don't know how you can do that. You didn't even flinch, Kurotsuchi said. Killing is part of shinobi life, Kuro. It's tough, but it's something you have to do to protect your family, friends, and the village. But it was so brutal. The way they all exploded. I gave them a perfect ending that sublimized their existence into one perfect moment. In that moment, they were infinite. They didn't even feel anything. They died in a flash. It's much more elegant and aesthetic than if you use your lava on them. Imagine them dying slowly, consumed by it. So unsightly. That is why my ninjutsu is the highest form of art. Oh, shut up. My magma's really cool. Not as cool as my art. Team Roushi went on many missions. Most of them are rather dangerous, and certainly above the level of regular Ginins. Onoki made sure their missions would suit Deidara's powers, and that he could use many explosions. He was truly happy about that. The contrast between his life now as a ninja and his life in the temple was stark. It felt like he had freedom, he could practice his art, he could glimpse infinity, and Deidara was always seeking to improve his craft, creating new pieces, increasing the power of his explosions. A few months later, foreign ninjas began to flock into the Stone Village. They were from many villages such as Waterfall, Hot Spring, Snow, and surprisingly, Cloud. Deidara grouped with his squadron that day, and before he could even ask questions, Roushi explained. The Stone Village will be holding a joint tuning exams next week. I have recommended the three of you to participate. Oh, that's exciting! Akatsuchi said. Yes, becoming a chunin is gonna make me even closer to becoming Tsuchikage. Kurotsuchi pumped her fists. I don't really care about my ranking. Why should I even bother? Deidara wasn't as excited as the other two. If you become a chunin, Gramps will send you more dangerous missions so you can use even more explosions, Deidara. You should try it. Kurotsuchi told him, and he smiled. Well, then I guess we have to pass these exams. Deidara, one more thing. Lord Tsuchikage wishes to speak with you in private before the exams, Roushi said. Huh? What does the old geezer want? Would you stop referring to Lord Tsuchikage that way? Regardless, he wishes to speak to you. Get ready. The chunin exams are difficult. Even if you're performing well in your missions, it doesn't mean you'll pass. A week later, Deidara, Akatsuchi, and Kurotsuchi left the room where they took the written exams with all other 200 candidates. They passed without an issue. That was easy peasy. I told you I'm gonna be Tsuchikage in no time, Kurotsuchi said. Well, almost every single team passed the written test, so it's not as though we did something too special, I think, Akatsuchi said. Oh, come on, don't be so pessimistic. No, I'm not, seriously. Something's definitely off. The written exams, well, they're supposed to cut off at least 70% of the candidates, and only about 10% were eliminated this time. Maybe we're just the golden generation after all. No, I think there's something hidden here. We just don't know what it is. Deidara chuckled at that conversation. What's going on, Deidara? That old geezer. He's great. What? Are you saying Gramps made the tests easier so we can all pass? No, of course not. The next day, all the candidates that qualified were at a barren field about 20 kilometers away from the Stone Village itself. A Stone Village ninja proctor addressed them. In the second task, you will go into the barren fields. There, each squadron must capture 2 crystals. 1 red, 1 blue. The crystals will be randomly spread around. They will emit a beacon of light randomly as well, so you can identify their location and battle for them. You may also capture crystals from other teams after they were already claimed. You have 5 days to do that. Once the time's over, we will blow our whistles and you must stop fighting. They all had to sign a waiver stating that whatever happened to them during the second test was their own responsibility, and the Stone Village would have no fault in case of injury or death. But all candidates seemed happy enough to do so, and Deidara smiled, looking at the line of people signing the waiver. What's going on, Deidara? No, nothing. Nothing at all. Deidara and his team rushed through the barren fields. We should stay out of sight of the other teams. Let's hunt for the crystals tomorrow. For tonight, let's hunker down and wait, Deidara said. Why? You should attack now! No, the stronger teams will go for the crystals today, but we have 5 days. That's not like you, Deidara, being patient. I just really want to become a chunin. Kurotsuchi and Akatsuchi agreed and carved a hole into a small hill using earth style so they could spend the night. They ate the rations they brought into the task. I will leave the cave and do some scouting, Deidara said. Is that necessary? None of us are sensory types. I'll make sure no hostiles are around us during the night, alright? You're not resting? I'll be fine. Deidara left the cave and walked 100 meters away from it. He then created a large bird he mounted and took into the starry sky. However, scouting was not his goal. He had a secret mission to fulfill.
Deidara, I have a special assignment for you during the Chunin exams.
The Tsuchikage told him in his office during their private meeting a few days prior. I thought I was just supposed to pass the exams.
Your results don't matter. I will promote you and the others in your team regardless of it. I am giving you another task, but you have to keep this one a secret.
And what is this mission?
He'll be exploding many things.
Deidara smiled. Really?
Yes. The first test of the exams will be exceptionally easy, designed to advance almost all contestants into the second round. And this is where I'll need to use your art. For the first time in many years, we are holding a joint exam with another of the 5 great villages, the Cloud. They'll bring 81 ninjas in 27 squads, and you will eliminate all of them. Weakening one of the 5 greats in terms of military capability as well as political capital in the eyes of prospective clients is fundamental and will give us an immense advantage against them. If we wipe out 81 of their most talented youths, that will mean our ninja services will be used far more often. Not only will they be weaker and less threatening to us, but if the clown ninjas are perceived as inept, more clients will flock to the stone.
I don't care about the politics, geezer. What do I have to do?
During the second exam, beacons of light will rise into the sky and teams will flock there to capture crystals. You must fly above them and bombard the clown ninjas, killing them all. You will do it the first night. I'll make sure all the beacons activate in sequence. He'll make it easier for you to locate all the clown ninjas. Make an excuse to the others on your team and make sure they don't see what you're doing.
Onoki handed him a strange gadget.
I had this tailor-made for you. It goes over the eye and magnifies your vision up to 40 times. It will be a perfect tool for the job.
Deidara tried out the gadget. So you made the first test easy so it can explode more people in the second one. You're actually a considerate old man.
You can call it that, or you can call it maximizing our gains. Just be careful not to catch any stone ninjas in the bombardments. And also don't eliminate any ninjas from the other villages if you can help it. It is important to keep them on our leash and somewhat happy.
Sure thing. Once Deidara rose up about 1 kilometer in the sky, he put on his eye gadget. It didn't take long for the thin ribbons of light to start appearing in the distance. Deidara wouldn't have needed a gadget to spot those, but he used it to look for the cloud genins. Just like moths flocking to a flame, many of them were headed straight to the beacons. Deidara smiled and launched his clay birds. On that night, death came from the sky to the young cloud ninjas. Without warning, without mercy, Deidara's silent birds beamed down and exploded, systematically eliminating the cloud ninjas. If Deidara was a painter, the cloud ninjas were his ink, and the battleground was his canvas. Flashes of light dotted the exam grounds, as Deidara's explosives destroyed team after team. He spent the entire night eliminating the cloud ninjas. When the sky began to show the first signs of sunlight, Deidara had eliminated 74 out of the 75 cloud ninjas that passed the written test. I guess one escaped me. He must have caught on. Now I doubt he'll show himself until the end of the exam, Deidara thought. He managed to collect both crystals during his night mission and returned to the cave.
Where the hell were you?
Kurotsuchi asked with worry in her voice. Deidara showed his palms. One mouth hand was biting a red crystal, the other one a blue. I was passing the exam for us. Saw the opportunity and took it. Now I just have to lay low.
Awesome! How'd you do it?
Akatsuchi asked. Well, it involved explosions. Of course he did. Deidara looked for the remaining cloud ninja a few times until the end of the exams, but couldn't find him. On the 5th day, the examiners blew whistles around the battlegrounds to signify the end of the exam. Once the participants regrouped, their numbers had been reduced to less than half, and only one cloud ninja was there, a blonde kunoichi. The Raikage had come to the stone village in order to watch the final round, but he became furious and lashed out on the Tsuchikage in front of the surviving contestants.
What is the meaning of this, Tsuchikage? What have you done to my ninja? Calm yourself. It is not my fault your shinobi were incompetent. It's impossible that the only clown ninja to survive was Samui!
He pointed at the blonde girl.
Come here!
The girl stepped forward as the Raikage's assistants attempted to calm him down. As a side note, I am making Samui 10 years younger than she is in the original, so she'll be 19 in Naruto Shippuden, same age as Deidara.
What happened here?
The Raikage demanded. I don't know exactly, Lord Raikage. I just saw many of our teams being targeted with explosions. I sought shelter and remained there for the duration of the exams. Her words were frigid, lacking any emotion. motion.
That's it! You pay for this, fence-sitter!
The Raikage motioned to attack the Tsuchikage, but Mabui, his assistant, touched his arm in a gesture to stop him. Please, Lord Tsuchikage, don't start a war over this.
There will be retribution, Onoki! For what? Your ninjas signed a waiver. Whatever happened to them was their fault alone. You bastard!
Lord Raikage, let's leave, please. They eventually did. The Raikage left with the last survivor of the cloud. They wouldn't participate in the final round. Onoki promoted Deidara, Kurotsuchi, and Akatsuchi into Chunin without even the need to participate in the third round of the exams. It made no sense to reveal the powers of the three most talented prospects of the village for the entire world to see, especially when it came to Deidara. He was simply too useful, a generational talent. Deidara, Kurotsuchi said, as they were alone at home, were you the one who killed all those cloud ninjas? The girl talked about explosions. I can't talk to you about that. So it was you! Why did you do that? When you left that night, I knew something was up. You were away for too long, and you came back exhausted. Why did you kill them like that? I was given a mission, alright? What? Why? I don't ask questions. I just fulfilled the mission with my art. You should talk to your grandpa about it. Kurotsuchi's world seemed to be shattered that day. She didn't understand why Onoki would tell Deidara to go and destroy so many people from one particular village. But Deidara didn't pay much thought. He just had to keep going, fulfilling his missions, using his art, and improving his craft. Onoki kept on sending Deidara to dangerous missions where his abilities would be well suited. Sometimes with a squadron, but many times Deidara just went on those missions by himself. His exploits quickly landed a promotion to Jonin at the age of 13, the youngest promotion to that rank in the history of the village. Deidara didn't care about the ranking, however. He only cared about improving his art, making sure no ninjutsu could ever surpass him in elegance, aesthetics, beauty, and nobility. A few months after his Jonin promotion, Deidara had infiltrated an underground base for highly wanted criminals in the land of Earth. He managed to get himself hired as an errand boy by a powerful criminal, and his mission was to eliminate about a dozen of the most notorious underground lords of the land of Earth. On that evening, Deidara worked as a sort of butler, serving drinks and food to guests, as per his contractor's request. They were receiving a multitude of other criminals for a yearly summit they held. All crime lords had ninjas escorting them, and for some reason, they were all from the Rain Village. Obviously, nobody knew Deidara was a ninja as well. The crime lords ate and drank, talking about several different things, including business deals and criminal partnerships. Deidara kept on serving them, but one particular thing caught Deidara's attention. One conversation. I heard one of the monks achieved a great passing. He remembered the monks talking about that. A great passing. He never knew what it was and never cared about it, but now for some reason he was curious. Really? Those are difficult to do. I'm happy our monks are still fulfilling their spiritual duties. An older crime lord said. Well, I don't really care. I just find it amusing, you know. They changed subjects after that, but Deidara just couldn't let it go. He walked to that table and offered more drinks, which they gladly accepted. Excuse me, but you said something about a great passing? What does that mean? The crime lords were taken aback by a servant speaking so nonchalantly with them, but they didn't take any offense. Rather, the old one was glad to talk about it. The stone monks from Mount Erode have this ritual. At the end of their lives, the most enlightened ones attempt this extremely difficult rite of passage. The ones that succeed attain a status of semi-divinity. They go through a strict diet regimen in the end of their lives, only fibers and barely any water for weeks, and they step into an urn when they are ready, where they meditate until they die. The goal is to die while sitting and remain in that position after death. The diet they go through, well, first during all of their lives, but especially at the end, helps to preserve their bodies. You could call it a self-mummification. The bodies are preserved forever, symbolizing the beauty of their pious lives and hardship and reward of the sacrifices they made during their journey. For them, it's the highest form of art, transcendent, eternal. It's quite an interesting practice. Deidara saw red. He began to laugh, quietly at first, but his laughter progressed into maniacal cackling. The entire room turned their eyes towards him, but he didn't care, which unsettled the crime lords. What's your problem, boy? So that's art for them. That's what they meant by
great passing. I said I would teach them the true meaning of art.
I suppose it's time, Deidara said to no one in particular. What are you yapping about?
Cats!
All crime lords exploded from within at the same time, painting the entire room red, including Deidara himself. He had slipped several sand dwellers into their food and drinks. The rain ninja escorts drew their weapons and prepared to fight, but Deidara looked at them with bloodlusted eyes.
You've already failed your mission. There's no point in fighting me.
Deidara's aura made them all recoil. There was no point in dying over an already failed mission. Deidara left the room and the hideout entirely, creating a large bird he could fly on. He cruised the night sky, flying over the land of Earth. His destination was the Erode Temple. He could finally show those monks real art. He would erase that eternal desecration they called great passing from existence. It would be sublimized with the noblest art of all, with a pinnacle of creative expression, with a bang. It took Deidara a few hours, but he finally saw the temple in the distance on top of that mountain. Deidara had forgotten how ugly it was, how much he hated it, but it didn't matter anymore, for the temple was about to become beautiful. Deidara bit into an amount of clay much larger than usual and infused with chakra, putting far more than ever before. Deidara had been practicing a new form of his art, one far more explosive, one that could deliver infinity to that temple all at once, but he had never tried it at a large scale. Now was the time. He crafted a large and fat statuette and looked at it with pride.
This is far beyond my regular C1 ninjutsu. It's C3, and I'll call you Ohako,
Deidara said, talking to his new creation. He hovered 1 kilometer exactly above the peak of the mountain where the temple stood and tossed his C3. It expanded in size and became much larger than the bird he flew on. The large clay creation fell, cutting the air and making that ominous sound of a plummeting bomb. The C3 got closer and closer to the temple. As it accelerated with the fall, the heavens would deliver death to all the monks who resided in there. And Deidara smiled.
You should all be happy. I am redeeming you all your sorry lives of unsightly devotion to eternity. With my masterpiece, I shall give you meaning. I shall make you meaning. I shall make you art, because true art is an explosion. Cats!
Night became day. A gargantuan fireball engulfed the entire temple in a split second, consuming absolutely everything in its path, reducing the buildings and people into ash. For that moment, it was as if the mountain was a great lighthouse with the most powerful flame in the universe. It lasted for less than a blink of an eye, but Deidara saw it. In that fraction of a second, they were infinite. The temple, the monks, all of it. But after infinity came the shockwave, which destroyed the entire mountain below with an apocalyptic level of destruction. It was over. The temple that had stood there for thousands of years was reduced to nothing in a mere instant. Deidara raised his hands towards the sky and smiled in utter satisfaction.
True beauty and purpose don't lie on the journey, but at the ending. A journey with no end can never be beautiful, for the ending is the only moment of truth, the only moment that matters, the only moment where one can glimpse infinity. That is the true meaning of art.
Watch part 55 right here. Don't forget to like the video if you want the next rewrite the next week. Also, subscribe and ring those notifications if you haven't already, because those things help me a lot. Comment below what you thought about this episode, and thank you so much for watching.